Hi everybody, welcome back to another one of my Dungeon Boss PvP videos. Today we are going to be looking at a Grand Tourney power team that I've been using. And so with the Grand Tourney in full swing here, your raid tickets are precious resources, and so you want to come up with the best team possible to burn through all of your raids, get yourself some trophies, and ultimately help out your guild. So, as I showed in a couple of my previous videos, I had been really gung-ho on the quote-unquote perma-res team. That was mostly because I was getting back into the game. I was really unfamiliar with some of the stuff again. Now that I've kind of reacclimated myself, I've gone through and taken a rune inventory of what I got and what I needed on certain people. I wiped out a whole bunch of that stuff on older heroes that just no longer have a role. And I basically updated myself a little bit. I now have a new team that I've been using. This one comes courtesy of mostly from the folks at Justice League is where I found it. But ultimately it centers around what I'm going to call from this point forward a Festive Furnace. And if you don't know what Festive Furnace is already, he is a, he's a furnace. And he's loaded up with Festive runes. So this particular team that I'm going to use will cater towards the moderate to really active guild player. If you are currently a weekly Boss 100 player, you'd likely have the PvP chops to get through plenty of raids quickly, gain yourself a lot of trophies, and do the normal PvP grind. If you are a newer player, this one's going to be tough for you because it's going to require, one, some pretty decent heroes with some pretty significant star levels, and also, if you can't scrounge up the Festive runes, it's going to be just flat out impossible. So the way that this started out was ultimately some people were noticing that with the tank rune, if you put Furnace in the first position on defense, and then somebody else was taunting, he would use his second ability, in this case here, was the Combustion. It's technically his third ability, and basically wipe people's energy on his opening attack. And it got us thinking, it's like, you know what, if we could do this on a PvP attack, that would be pretty awesome. So I managed to scrounge up some Festive runes for this. Got one there. And I actually had to downgrade into a greater Festive because I didn't have a second superior for the fire rune. But then I got one on green, and yeah, it's not a Festive rune, but the purple one as well. So if you're not able to scrounge up these runes, you may as well turn back now, because this team likely is not going to work for you, because you have to have these runes in order to be able to use that first ability. So the team that I've been using centers around Furnace. Obviously, he's always going to be the first one, and then some of my basic main players. The benefit of this team is it is pretty universal in terms of who it can kill, and it's also pretty fast, so it gets you through some of the raids pretty quickly, minus the raids where you're constantly dealing with Oak Form Lily, where it just takes forever to finish her off. The team in my defense is actually not this particular team, so disregard that one. As far as how it's been going so far, my stats are a little bit misleading. I lost a bunch of them trying to win the raids with all the same family. That didn't go so well for me, but for the most part, this team has been doing pretty well for me. There are some minor variations to it, which I'll get into in just a little bit. But for the most part, I've been able to do this particular team without even checking runes. The runes don't really matter to me because there's only a couple out there that really cause problems. One of the primary teams that really I try to shy away from is if there's an Emily team that has aversion on Emily and a couple other big hitters besides her, because sometimes the team can be a little bit slow taking care of Emily, and then she gets a revive in there even if you reset her energy. And a well-timed revive with haste on it, and someone like Valken, for example, can be absolutely brutal, and you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So I'm going to start out here. Notice I haven't checked any runes here. I don't really care about the runes. That's what I said. I'm going to check out... I never really know how to say the name here, but this is obviously a very popular player in the game. I'm going to say it's Poo-Poo-Er, Pauper. I don't know. I don't know what to call her. If you happen to ever watch my videos, why don't you chime in and tell me how you pronounce your name. But ultimately, the goal with this particular team, this one here is obviously a very, 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 very strong team. We're talking over 6,000 rune power. Normally, I would not even attack these. In this case here, I'm going to come back to this one because this is probably not a raid that I'll end up winning. So I'm going to circle back around to that one and do this one first. The 5500s, those are a lot easier for me to deal with. So the big thing with this is that don't care about the runes. I don't care where there's taunt. I don't care where there's aversion with this particular team. But the team and the order is always Furnace, Agnon, Valken, and then Solaris. One extra little buff to my team, which is just a supplement to this team, is I do have aversion runes on Valken and Solaris, which basically forces opening single target attacks to go after Furnace or Agnon. Furnace is obviously pretty defensive in general, and Agnon is in his granite form to start with, so it works out pretty well. Saves my guys some brutal execution kills right from the start. But the first thing, I'm usually at the mercy of my load screen. That's what's taking the longest as of recent. But what I like to do is essentially anticipate what I assume is going to happen. Once the screen loads up and I see who's got aversion and taunts and stuff like that, I can usually get a pretty good beat on how the raid's going to go down. The nice thing about this particular team is with Furnace and Agnon, you're not going to be really behind the 8 ball with Jin teams. So if that Panda's causing you a problem with his silence, not usually an issue because you can wait till the second turn to really utilize Valken. This is a pretty standard start for me here, so ultimately what's going to happen is this here. I'll break it down in a matter of a couple of turns here. We're going to use Combustion. It's going to be a random hit. Occasionally Combustion is just a joke and it misses or it targets stupid people, whatever the case is. We're going to hit Lily. He's going to hit 2 more or go after her a couple more times. Agnon is not going to do anything first turn because of taunt. Valken will do a basic attack. Solaris will do a basic attack. Second turn, we're going to do a basic attack with Furnace. Hopefully get a little burn on there. Agnon will use his Plummeting Doom. We will use that on Panda. Sometimes I'll use it on Ponti. And then because second turn, the buffs are going to go, so then Valken can freeze Ponti and... Shade, and then after that it's basically cleanup for the most part. So let's see how that actually works in practice. Combustion hits 3 unique and it's hits all of them. It's really great that it actually hits Shade because then he's not going to do Spirit Link on Valken, which can sometimes be a major pain in the ass. So basic attack, like we said, basic attack. There's the follow-up attack. That's why I have Valken on my team and not someone like Arya, because of the free attacks. Once you get that burn for Furnace, it's awesome, because now I can do pretty much whatever I want. I can throw an extra attack on the Panda if I want. And here comes turn number 2. So we lost... Well, Agnon didn't die. That's another thing I should point out. I have... Unbreakable Heart rune on him as well, just for instances like that. So we'll throw a little bit of burn on people. There's that. We will do Plummeting Doom. Okay, now he's dead, so I won't get the Plummeting Doom. That's okay. But we get the Mass Freeze on everybody, and at this point here, this raid is all but over. So we'll bring back Agnon just to guarantee that Solaris or Shade's going to be dead. And now it's just a 4-on-1 against Lily. It might be a little bit slow because she's going to do her oak form and stuff like that. And she always does get her pollen cloud off, and a lot of times one with nature before you can reset her energy again. Nothing you can do about that, so occasionally it is what it is. But here's the basically cleanup, and now it's up to you how you want to finish it. As long as you don't do anything really, really stupid. There's the pollen cloud, and it still hits sometimes, but ultimately I just pour everything I got in there and it should go down. And this is how a lot of the raids actually go. So a lot of them are very predictable. There's a few teams that I don't go after, though. Like I said, for the most part, because of my relative roster power, I tend to shy away from the 6,000 plus teams just because they can really rock me hard sometimes. I tend to double check on ones that have aversion on Emily just because I want to make sure that there's nothing that I can't take care of. But I'll still attack them sometimes. And then we have just the other miscellaneous ones. There's the Rayla teams. No matter what you're doing, this team is not going to take on a Rayla team. Pretty much for the most part, you need to have a good solid Gortus team in order to soak that damage, because she does her attacks and it just swarms. So it's not one that you want to go after. So we're going to test my PvP chops against, one of the greatest players in the game, if you want to call him or her that. But if you're out there listening to me, just a quick shout out. I do have respect for what you've accomplished in the game. That being said, let's see if I can knock you down a peg or two. Again, don't care about the runes. There's probably some really great ones on there. Based on the rune power, I'm guessing they're pretty much all elites, and they are probably all elite excessive PvP ones, probably enabler runes. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to attack it anyways. That's the other benefit about the, the Grand Tourney. Don't have to worry too much about streaks, in this case here. If it's a win, it's a win. If it's a loss, it's a loss. Most of the time you want to mitigate your losses, though, and you just refresh, keep getting ones that you can actually win, so you don't pour a bunch of time in for nothing. The worst part about the Grand Tourney is, for example, if I really get rolling in this one and I'm in it for 6-7 minutes and then I lose, that's just bad news for everybody. So it's not a good use of time if you're going to pour a ton of time into it and then end up losing. Now, I feel somewhat confident in this one here for a couple reasons. One, he doesn't have Rayla, but two, the way that it's going to go, he's got Furnace. So I wasn't going to risk bringing Echo in against that strong of a team. So I left Echo home, and fortunately for me, he didn't have a taunt rune on anybody. I'm surprised there wasn't a taunt rune on Arya, to be honest, because then he could have reset energy with Furnace, and this one would have been over in 2 rounds. So now we'll see if my Furnace actually does something worth a shit. Went after Arya on the 3rd. I would have rather he went after Panda, but it is what it is. The worst part about Arya and Panda teams, though, and this is where the vast majority of my losses come in, and that is the GD Paralyze. I swear, Paralyze has it out for me more than anything I've ever seen. Every single hero, every single time. Paralyze, it hits. Nothing I can do. This is akin to the really old days of Dungeon Boss, where it seems like no matter what, Twinkle Toes, what the hell's his name? The sumo guy. I can't remember his name because he's irrelevant now. But he would always dodge against you, but he would never dodge for you. So in this case here, that kind of went down how I wanted. He got a couple of really great attacks off, and that was pretty much it. So I'm not going to claim that I should have won that one, even in the slightest. So I will do one more just to see what other teams are out there. There are plenty of Valken teams. Here's one that is... we need to see if there's a tank rune anywhere. So, yep, so Lily's got a tank. So this one here, Furnace is going to reset my energy. So now we have to determine, are we going to try and mitigate that energy reset by bringing someone like Echo along to play? Or do we want to play Russian roulette with his Furnace and see which of my 3 guys is not affected? In most cases, I can usually sacrifice Agnon and get away with not having him. So we're going to roll the die and pick my Echo here, save my energy, reset his. But actually, because he's got Valken, I'm afraid I can't do it exactly like that. I can't use my Valken because I have to one-shot. If I don't one-shot Valken, there's no winning this raid. It's just not going to happen. Because once Valken gets rolling, all those extra free attacks just can't have it. So I have to put a poach on him. And actually, now that I think about it, this was probably a foolish plan anyways, because he's got aversion on Valken. So may have just signed up for another poorly thought out loss is what it's going to be. So worst or best case scenario, we can at least put the hurt on Jin and get rid of that Paralyze. With a little bit of luck, I can hopefully avoid Valken's main stuff and not get freeze too much, not get extra damage attacks in there. But aversion on Valken is a great rune. If you have any of the aversion runes from the last event, Valken is a great option for them. Alright, so we got the taunts there. Save my energy. Alright, combustion on Lily and Valken. That was as best as I could have asked for. The 3 main hitters. Let Furnace do his thing. So now I have to wait for the taunts to come off. Can't do Oak Form, and that's a waste to do it on Furnace. So we'll try and kill Panda in the next turn, assuming that we are still alive. And then we'll just see where the chips fall. Alright, I'm going to do a taunt just to get some extra fire damage. May or may not be worth it, but at least keeps the heat off of Agnon. And Furnace's taunt obviously didn't help us there because his was one extra turn. So we'll just do it the hard way. We're going to lose Echo very soon. We're going to lose Furnace very soon. But the nice thing is we'll bring Furnace back and he will be able to use Combustion again. Agnon's going to be able to use Terror Storm. If we get really lucky, Terror Storm on Valken can be an absolute godsend. You wouldn't think Valken would be susceptible to fear, but he definitely is. And in fact, once I res, Valken may flat out die from Terror Storm, which if that's the case, I'll be feeling really confident about this raid then. Alright, so we got a little bit before Combustion comes back up, but it should be back up before Lily's even going to cause us any problems. So here we go. There goes Valken, and now I'm feeling like $1,000,000 here. So unless we get really ganked by the paralysis bug, which like I said, it has it out for me. Paralysis has my number. And so as long as we get past that, Furnace is going to throw some slow burns on these guys, and then Panda's going to die, and Lily's going to die. And honestly, Furnace isn't going to last long either. Now you might wonder why I did that attack with Agnon when they had evasion up. Mostly it's just to try and get some extra damage in there before things get out of control. It's still only really a 3-on-3. I don't count Echo as really a major player on my team here. He was just to prevent that opening attack from going south. But a Furnace Lily team, feeling pretty good about my odds here, because none of my guys are really going to burn. So Furnace should be able to die in the next turn. There's the unfortunate part about okay, so now it's getting down to the nitty-gritty with that Sapping Vines. That's no joke. I'll tell you, the Sapping Vines, if you let that get out of control, that is a team wrecker. Okay, Furnace is dead. Lily's going to go to Oak Form. Resurrection should be up. We're going to try and scare her away. This is the best tactic at this point here. And we win. All right. There we go. We came in under 20 minutes. So that is the basic premise of the Festive Furnace team. Furnace, Agnon, Valken, and Solaris, or Furnace, Agnon, or Valken, Solaris, and Echo. So any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to let me know, and I will see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.